بسمه سبحانه وإن من شيء إلا يسبح بحمده. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear loyal brothers, until now the assuring passages of Qawsul Azam فَإِنَّكَ مَحْرُوسٌ بِأَعْيِنِ الْإِنَايَةِ have been in complete conformity regarding the students of the Risale-i Nur. We are hopeful from the mercy of Allah that despite its seemingly painful and harmful form, the parting of brothers such as Husrev, Rushdu, and Rafat, especially that of Husrev who is a very firm pillar, will inshallah take on a very beneficial form. Even the calamity of our imprisonment, though seemingly painful from an actual point of view, was made to be a great favor and mercy for our service. Lillahi alhamd, with your endeavors, there are many Husrevs in that area who have started to emerge. Perhaps Husrev was given time off from his long time continuous work, and we are hopeful from the favor of Allah that in place of his valuable pen, his sacred service will go on with his blessed words and sincere state, the same way as the military services of Faizi and Salahuddin too were blessed. My brothers, in relation to this incident, I will share with you the Risale-i Nur's news from the Ghaib which has come out as being completely compatible. 6 to 7 years ago, it had given the news that many Risale-i Nur students like Husrev, Hulusi, Rushdu, and Rafat will be enlisted for military duty and have some connection with this Second World War, that a Second World War will take place and that we, that is the students, will take part in it. Because in the 28th flash, which is the second karamat of Imam Ali, in the discussion of فَيَا حَامِلَ الْإِسْمِ, in the second sign, if فَقَاتِلْ وَلَا تَخْشَى is joined, it becomes equal to around 1940. Allahu Alam, it gives news indicating our involvement in the World War at that time, that is, our participation not with our former ally, but in a sportive way with their enemy. Now, it is that same date in which the important pillars of the Risale-i Nur have taken part. We pass on our salam to each of our brothers. Hilmi, Faizi, Nazif, Amin pass on their salam and respects. Al-Baqi wal-Baqi Sayyid Nursi. بسمه وإن من شيء إلا يسبح بحمده. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بعدد حاصل درب عشرات دقائق ليلة القدر في حروف القرآن. My dear loyal brothers, firstly, I congratulate your blessed Ramadan with all my being, and I pray to most merciful of the merciful that your du'as made in that blessed state will be accepted before Almighty Allah. Secondly, the holy month of Ramadan this year is of great importance and is extremely valuable for both the Islamic world and the Risale-i Nur students. In accordance with the mystery of partnership in deeds of the hereafter, which is a fundamental principle of Risale-i Nur students, it is a requisite of this principle and of the mercy of Allah that with respect to the spiritual gains of each individual, a share of all his other brothers and sisters is recorded into the book of good deeds in exactly the same amount. It makes the rewards gained by those who enter the circle of the Risale-i Nur with loyalty and sincerity so great and universal that each one of them will gain 1,000 shares. Inshallah, without being divided or diminished like the collective shares in material worldly gains, it will be recorded in each person's book of good deeds in exactly the same amount. Just like a single lamp that a person brings will enter each of the thousands of mirrors as the same lamp without being divided. In this way, if one loyal student of the Risale-i Nur was to gain the reality of Laylatul Qadr, night of power, and the high level of Ramadan, we are extremely hopeful from the comprehensive mercy of Allah that truly loyal students in general will earn and share the rewards. My dear, loyal, blessed, champion brothers. Firstly, with the principle of partnership in deeds of the hereafter, during this blessed Ramadan, it is our hope from the mercy of Allah that like angels possessing 40,000 tongues, the prayers performed by the 40,000 tongues of each of the elect brothers and sisters, that is, the prayers they have performed and will perform with spiritual tongues to the number of their fellow brothers, we beseech Almighty Erhamur Rahimin to the number of those tongues that these prayers are accepted. We congratulate your Ramadan of this nature. Secondly, while your numerous effective, joyous letters, this time bearing good news, is deserving a book-long reply, I request that you are not offended at the short length of this due to the lack of time. Foremost in the letter written by Ahmed, who is an important student of the village of Saw, which is the seedbed of champions, I saw such a matter that it made me cry with tears of joy. 100,000 thanks be to Almighty Allah, the blessed mothers and women of that village have completely appreciated the full worth of the Risale-i Nur. The sacrifices made in spreading the Risale-i Nur by those blessed women and my valuable and sincere sisters of the hereafter have made me and all of us cry with utter joy. Since the most important principle of the method of the Risale-i Nur is compassion, and since women are repositories of compassion, for a long time I was expecting the realm of women to realize the nature of the Risale-i Nur. Lillahi alhamd, the women in this area are also actively working in full with an ardor that is much greater than the men nearby, thereby demonstrating they are the sisters of the blessed people of Saw. Both these manifestations at this time are positive signs that the Risale-i Nur will beam and triumph in those repositories of compassion. The brave shepherds of the village of Saw, carrying the Risale-i Nur in their bags to make copies will, just like the sacrificing women in that area, be a very effective means of encouragement in this region. We would like to know the personal names of those women and those shepherds so that they can be included with their names among the elect students. The tearful dream of Osman, the clerk, is truly a sign of a great truth. It is very blessed and bears good news. Just like Rushdu's dream, in which, with the comment of our prophets ﷺ, Hazrat Siddiq radiallahu anh shows the 29th verse while delivering the khutbah from the pulpit, that houri-like being descending from the heavens and reading the addendum as the khutbah is a beautiful indication to the acceptability of the Risale-i Nur. My dear, loyal brothers, I will share with you two events that are subtle, meaningful, and bearing good news. The first, a warning bearing good news from a despairing memory. It has come to my mind in recent times that, whatever they encounter, those who enter social life will mostly be exposed to sins. A person can easily be surrounded by sins from all directions. How can a single person's worship and taqwa be enough to stand against these many sins? And I anxiously began to ponder. I started thinking about the state of the Risale-i Nur students in social life and began reflecting on the strong signs of the Qur'an and the good news by Imam Ali and Gawsul Azam regarding the salvation of Risale-i Nur students and that they will be from the people of bliss. I said in my heart, by using only their individual tongue, how can each respond to the sins coming from 1,000 aspects? How can they be victorious and find salvation? And was left bewildered. In response to my bewilderment, it was warned that, through the law of partnership in deeds of the hereafter and the mystery of sincere and pure cooperation, which are fundamental principles among true and loyal students of the Risale-i Nur, with every sincere and true student offering not with a single tongue, but rather through the worship and forgiveness with tongues to the number of their brothers, each will respond with thousands of tongues against the onslaught of sins attacking them from 1,000 aspects. In the same way that certain angels make zikr with 40,000 tongues, a sincere and true student who practices taqwa performs worship through the tongues of their 40,000 brothers and becomes deserving of salvation and will inshallah be among the people of bliss. They can acquire that exalted and universal worship according to their degree of loyalty, service, taqwa, and abstaining from major sins within the circle of the Risale-i Nur. Certainly, in order not to lose this great benefit, they must work on taqwa, ikhlas, and loyalty. The second, in my earlier years, when I was 14 years old, due to certain obstacles, I did not have an ustad to put a turban on me and make me wear the jubbah, which are signs of receiving an ijazah. It was not suitable for me to don the attire of the great scholars in my region at such a young age. Secondly, rather than being my ustad, since the great scholars at the time were faced with the prospect of either competing with me or being defeated, there was nobody who had the confidence to have me wear a jubbah and take on the role of being my ustad. And after the passing away of 4 or 5 of the great people among the awliya, I came to believe after certain signs that my 56-year right to wear the jubbah, which is the outward sign of receiving the ijazah, and to kiss the hand of an ustad and accept his mastery, was recently answered by Hazrat Mevlana Zuljenahain Khalid Ziauddin, sending in a most peculiar way his personal jubbah and a turban tied around that jubbah and have me wear them. So now I am wearing that blessed 100-year-old jubbah, and I thank Almighty Allah hundreds of thousands of times. Note, that blessed trust was delivered to me by an esteemed lady named Asiya, who is from the Risale-i Nur students and is our sister of the hereafter. My dear loyal brothers, a sentence has been omitted in the introduction of the Hizbul Akbar al-Qur'an that we sent you. It is like this. Instead of anyone wanting to read a miraculous word should read this, it should write, anyone wanting to read a miraculous word which yields 10, 100, 500, 1,000, and thousands of merits and fruits should read this heavenly word. Secondly, I have been warned that the following sentence should be added to this passage conveying the good news in the previous reflection. A pure and true student who practices taqwa performs worship and seeks repentance through the tongues of their brothers. This is the sentence. They can acquire that exalted and universal worship according to their degree of loyalty, service, taqwa, and abstaining from major sins within the circle of the Risale-i Nur. Certainly, in order not to lose this great benefit, they must work on taqwa, ikhlas, and loyalty. Thirdly, we congratulate and celebrate your Laylatul Qadr as well as your upcoming Eids with all our being. My dear, loyal, blessed brothers who are my means of consolation in this world, my luminous friends on the road to Barzakh, and inshallah my intercessors on the day of resurrection. I congratulate and celebrate your Laylatul Qadr and your Eid with all my being. Secondly, I inform you that in a most extraordinary way, as a result of the du'as made for cure by the sincere students of the Risale-i Nur, in an amazing way of karamat, like a miracle, I have suddenly recovered from a terrible illness, the like of which I have never before experienced. As a lesson to heed, I send you the following passage about that amazing illness by Amin and Faizi, who have witnessed this incident. I pass on my salam and dua to each of my brothers in general, and I am worried about Husrab. El-Baqi, Wel-Baqi, your brother, Said Nursi. To our dear brothers in Sparta, we would like to share with you what we witnessed regarding Ustad's illness and the good news that now he is in good health. By joining his fast in Ramadan for 5 days, what he ate in terms of food was 3 spoons of muhallabi, milk pudding, and 5 or 6 spoons of cold yogurt. On the 3rd night, he had half a spoon of pudding. On the 4th night, he had 5 spoons of vermicelli soup for iftar, and for sahur 3 or 4 spoons from the same vermicelli and yogurt, amounting to about 16 grams of vermicelli without its water, about 30 grams of yogurt without its whey, and about 20 grams of pudding without its fluid. On the 5th night, he had 5 or 6 spoons of light vermicelli soup without the grains, and 6 or 7 spoons of rice soup for sahur, bringing his total consumption of food to 96 grams by joining the fast for 5 days. Also, in completing all his duties except for Tarafi, we witnessed a keramet of one of the wonders of divine favor encompassing students of the Risale-i Nur. Like the Suleymans of Barla and Sparta, since both of us, that is Emin and Faizi, had taken necessary precautions to avoid rattling the sensitive temperaments that came with illness, we witnessed Ustad's severe temperament which we had never before seen. Note: the illness was so severe that he only slept for about an hour for 4 nights. One of the marks of mercy in this illness is that during the important nights of the last 10 days of Ramadan, beyond our expectations, each student in this region, in addition to their own personal efforts, worked as Ustad did and dedicated an hour of work on behalf of their Ustad to participate in the spiritual struggle and have it recorded in the Risale-i Nur students' register of good deeds. This means that in return for Ustad and his working for a few hours on their behalf, they performed the same duty with many more hours of work. In fact, our Ustad said, "Together with my insignificance, my defective work was not enough to support and stimulate the good deeds relating the hereafter of our brothers in the Sparta region." By means of this illness, Almighty Allah bestowed from His mercy a collected spiritual character, and this arrangement which was a means of powerful support, and raised it from the level of particularity to the level of universality. It is again a subtlety of this illness that our Ustad lost his voice and was unable to talk. Close to one iftar time, a doctor turned up without our calling and held his hand. Our Ustad said, "I refuse to be examined. I do not need a physician. Almighty Allah is the doctor." Suddenly, he was energized and began to talk. It was as though he had taken on the role of the doctor and the doctor had become the patient. He read an important letter to the doctor which was a remedy for the doctor's spiritual woes. It was then time for iftar. "Have iftar here," Ustad offered. The doctor replied, "I am at fault today. I could not fast," and we understood that our Ustad was made to react that way due to his refusal in accepting the medical judgments of a doctor who had neglected his fast. Yes, we too confirm that the dua made for recovery by the collected spiritual character of the Risale-i Nur was equivalent to 100,000 doctors like this. The duas made for the cure of this illness by the students of the Risale-i Nur, especially the innocent ones, showed such a wonderful level of effect on Laylatul Qadr that our Ustad was suddenly given a state of health that was far better than before, and he resumed working in a way befitting Laylatul Qadr. We saw with our own eyes how this dua for recovery made by the students of the Risale-i Nur was a keramet like an amazing miracle. We pass on our salam and regards to each of our brothers there, and we await their duas. From the Risale-i Nur students here, your brother, Emin Mehmet Faizi. Bismihi subhanahu wa in min shay'in illa yusabbihu bihamdih. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear, loyal, blessed brothers, my hard-working and strong friends in the service of the Qur'an, and my luminous companions on the path of truth, the journey of Barzakh, on the road to the hereafter. I congratulate and celebrate with all my being your Eid, your Laylatul Qadr, and the acceptable du'as you have made throughout this blessed Ramadan. May Almighty Allah make the joy of this Eid an introduction and means to the true, broad, and general joy. Amen. Secondly, for me, the gift by the luminous pens you have sent this blessed Eid are so valuable that it is beyond description. Like bouquets from the water of Kevsar in the Firdaus level of paradise, with reverence I welcomed them with complete desire, thanks, and tears of joy. I offer endless thanks to Almighty Allah for bestowing the Risale-i Nur such pens which are like diamond swords and such companions of truth. And for you, I pray that Almighty Erhamur Rahimin grant 10 merits for each of the letters written in those blessed books. Husrev's departure had truly saddened me deeply. However, Tahiri removed that sadness of mine with his brilliant pen. He will at all times have a share among the elect students of the Risale-i Nur, together with all his family members, his mother and father. Also, due to Tahiri, as of today, like İslamköyü, the villages of Sav, Kuleönü, and Atabey too have been included in friendship with the village of Nurs and shared in all my spiritual gains in general. I too believe that the Hafiz Ali of Sparta, Katib Osman, is truly a second Husrev. May Almighty Allah bestow upon the province of Sparta himself and the many other champions like Mehmet Zühtü and the three custodians of the Risale-i Nur. Amen. The activities and efforts of Senior Abdurrahman, Junior Ali, and Hafiz Mustafa from among the champions of the blessed group, and some of the notes made by Hafiz Mustafa in his letter has made me shed tears of joy. There is one matter, however, which is that we found 25 banknotes in one of the envelopes, and we did not know whose it was. You do know that all my life I am unable to accept anyone's gifts. I even refused Rushdu's gift this time and offended him by turning him down. Almighty Allah does not leave me in need, neither does He leave me in need of people. Do not be worried about me. However, I feel such a collected spiritual character by the blessed group in this that I am unable to hold to my principle and oppose them. In order not to upset and offend that collected spiritual character, I have accepted to borrow 5 liras from that money to spend it for the good deeds of this Eid. By means of Sabri and his name, I am returning the remaining 20. Do not be offended. And especially the 4 beautiful gifts by the exceptional pen of Mim, Ain, Hassan appear to me as being very valuable. Inshallah, it will encourage many in this region to begin scribing. Hundreds of thousands of thanks be to Almighty Allah for bestowing such powerful pens to the Risale-i Nur. The letter of Mehmet from the blessed group has pleased me greatly. I read it out to the prominent locals next to me as I was writing this letter. Those locals too said, MashaAllah, Barakallah, and applauded it in amazement. We will include certain sections of this and the other letters in the addendum. The letter written by Haji Osman, who is the first heir of Abdurrahman and is a friend of the first students of the Risale-i Nur, Senior Mustafa, in the greeting of the door incident, the dreams he was reading are profound, and his interpretations of them are true. Dear brothers, while I write these to you, there is 30 minutes left for iftar. It is the evening of Eid and the illness is severe. For this reason, I am unable to talk at length. Like a miracle, the keramet of the du'as made for my recovery by the collected spiritual character of the Risale-i Nur has made me overcome that serious and threatening illness. But I am experiencing such a severe cough and state of agitation that I am cutting short my conversation with friends like yourselves, who I love more than my own life. There is one matter, however, which is that hundreds of young Sa'ids and Husrevs have been raised in Sparta and its regions. This frail and weak Sa'id is now ready to leave this world with complete heartfelt relief. And especially, the more I think of the engagements with the Risale-i Nur by foremost Haji Hafiz and the Ahmeds, Mehmeds, and even the esteemed women like the wife and daughters of Tahir and innocent children from the village of Saw, which is an important Nur madrasa, I receive and witness one kind of the pleasure of paradise here in this world. With complete reverence, I have accepted the gift by the Ahmeds, there as being a means of barakah sent on behalf of the whole village. My dear, loyal brothers, endless thanks be to Almighty Allah that my severe and terrible illness has gone and left its place to a very merciful and meritorious good health. Both my friends and I have confirmed that there is a great bounty found within it. I offer endless thanks and praise to Almighty Allah that the beautiful copies you have sent this time as Ramadan gifts has made my Eids comprehensive, bringing together many Eids at the same time. And in particular, the Risale scribed attentively and with tawafuk by the first Tahir, who is the second Husrev, have left us so indebted and overjoyed that if I could, I would give 10 gold pieces for each copy. To have such a strong student look out for the Risale-i Nur has greatly strengthened our hopes. This brought his village in line with the villages of the champions of Saw and the blessed group. The village of Atabe, Aras, should take pride in him and his likes. There are very little errors in his copies, but there are some words which are apparently not comprehensible in the originals, and this seems to be copied out in exact form. It will be good if you can compare those with the copies I have amended. We have beautifully bundled in a single volume the Risale scribed by the innocent children and wife of that strong and sacrificing brother of ours. For those who have seen it, especially the girls and ladies in the Risale-i Nur circle of women, it has been an effective and pleasing source of inspiration. Hassan from Aydın has a really exceptional pen, and a perfect ikhlas can be seen in his writings. I am curious to know when this person entered the Risale-i Nur and what state he is in. I have received a long letter from Hulusi, this time via Abdulmajid. Truly, that brother of ours continues to occupy the first place in steadfastness, firmness, and ikhlas. In my reply sent via Abdulmajid, I wrote telling him, "It is you too that I address in my letters. I have written to our brothers in Sparta. Our communication has not ceased. I am worried about the situations of Husrev, Rafat, and Rushtu. And Husrev in particular, how is he? And the custodian of the Nur factory, Hafiz Ali, is he well? We pass on our salam to each of our brothers in general."